Welcome to the Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zerl.
Hey, I met you. You are not cool.
With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick.
I am too smart. I am too smart. S-M-R-T. I mean S-M-A-R-R-T.
And Josh Adams.
Stick around.
Visit us at IHateCritics.net. We're also at everyone'sacriticpodcast.com. On Facebook, our Twitter and Instagram handles are CriticsPod. There you can participate in our top 5, watch the trailers, read the news, read Sean's reviews. His reviews are also up at Geeks Media.
Geeks.media, horror.media.
And there's a link to that on our IHateCritics.net as well. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. We're working on getting on other platforms. But no matter where you listen to us, if you go to iTunes or Apple Podcasts and subscribe to the show, rate and review the show, that helps us move up the charts. And then Patreon. There is a Patreon bonus episode out there. IHateCritics.net/Patreon. If you didn't get a notification, let me know. I know at least one listener didn't get one, so he didn't know we released one. I had to tell him this weekend. But it's out there. As far as I know, at least one person's listened to it. If you haven't, let me know, and I'll try to send you a link. Either way, you have to be a Patreon supporter, so I suppose I could just link to it on the page. And also, if you have sometimes credit cards, you get a new debit card, and there's an expiration date, and sometimes that date comes and goes. If you feel like checking, go ahead and check to see if anybody's card was declined. No big deal if it is. I'm not taking away credits or anything like that. It's not. We appreciate all the support we've gotten so far. And if you want to be a supporter and get a credit on the show, IHateCritics.net/Patreon is the way to go. And I don't know what else there is. We'll just go straight to the trailers. Jason's from New Mexico posted a trailer. Film stars don't die in Liverpool.
Yeah, we actually talked about this back in November, I believe, when I saw it, with Jamie Bell and Annette Bening. It's the story of the actress Gloria Graham in her later years in Liverpool, where she ended up passing away. She fell in love with this younger man while she was there working on the stage, and they had this sort of whirlwind romance. It was the last thing she did in her life, and it's about it's a meditation on age and getting older and trying to stay in the spotlight. Annette Bening's really great in it. It's not a great movie, but it's a pretty good movie. I would say about a 6 out of 10 if I had a star rating.
I do remember that trailer very well, and of course, as most of these trailers go, if it doesn't actually release wide, or if it doesn't come around here that I see, then it kind of gets out of sight, out of mind. Even the Netflix releases stay in my mind a little bit more than something like this. So, no, I haven't seen it, but yeah, the trailer was definitely interesting, especially Annette Bening. She really shines in roles like these when she's away from a Warren Beatty.
But of course, if you've seen In a Lonely Place with Humphrey Bogart, that is Gloria Graham's finest role, and definitely the one you should see if you're going to seek her out.
Then there's The Grinch. Saw that before.
Next. Illumination and those damn little things
Minions.
The Minions. Screw this movie. It's going to suck.
Pixie Sticks on film, part 5. I mean, Illumination sucks. Sorry. They were fine at one point. Like, the Lorax was fun at times, and then the first Despicable Me was fun at times, and I'm bored with their idea that kids need to have something flash in front of them with fart noises or something like that in order for us to get interested. I'm not even a big fan of the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I hate the Jim Carrey movie, and there's no way that an Illumination this studio will get me to see the Grinch. I mean, I'm not even a fan of the original. So,
yeah, and to me the original is you're not going to get any better than that, whether you like it or not. It's good enough as it is. It holds up for what it needs to do.
Well, especially because it's only 30 minutes, less than 30 minutes.
Right.
I mean, that's where that story is. You try and add to that to make it feature length, you're just padding it out with stupidity.
It makes me wonder too. Usually, if they are going to make a reboot a film or remake something. It's for the purposes of a potential franchise setup. And in this case, what is there beyond the story of the Grinch gets a...
Actually, Dr. Seuss did write a number of Grinch.
Really?
Yeah, there's even a Grinch Cat in the Hat crossover that actually aired on TV back in the 80s.
That just goes to show. There it is.
But when his heart becomes whatever at the end, does he still be a bad guy in these other movies or shows?
Kind of. He's still grumpy, I guess.
So like Gru.
Yeah. Kind of.
Okay, I see the template.
So this is one of those episodes when it comes out where Sean goes, "You're a bad parent if you took your kids to see."
And kids are dumb for enjoying it. I remember that at least one point, which was very humorous.
Well, that's what I'm sure that's what he was going for. Perfect.
Awesome trailer. Cannot wait to see this movie. It's one of the best trailers I've seen in a long time. That is badass looking. That 60s vibe it's got, but then it's also really modern. Yeah, that was awesome. I don't know who this director is, but that's a badass trailer.
This is not the 1985 film starring Jamie Lee Curtis. This is not a remake of that, right?
I do not believe so.
Okay. Well,
I did not see workout clothes anywhere.
No, I didn't see any jazzercise, whatever that was.
I admit to not having watched this trailer. I just didn't get to it. But the principles involved seem like an interesting set of principles.
Who are the principles?
We've got Abby Cornish and Tao Okamoto. I know this guy's face. His name is Martin Sensmeyer. He's in Westworld, for example. He was in the Magnificent Seven remake. I know the face. I just couldn't think of the name.
Yeah, it looked like a cool trailer. I recognize the faces kind of, but I don't know their names.
I recognize no one except Abby Cornish, and I was still like, this is awesome.
And then Brother's Nest.
What?
Kenny, what's that movie? Apparently it's an acclaimed movie. This was, again, I'm just reading YouTube. Went to IMDb, looked for all the new trailers, and this one looked like...
Kenny. I don't remember Kenny.
Said from the director of Kenny, the acclaimed follow-up, or the long-awaited follow-up from the acclaimed film Kenny. I don't even know.
Kenny Rogers?
Kenny from 2006 is what I'm seeing.
I don't remember that one.
Australian film. So since we're huge in Australia,
okay.
let's definitely talk this one up. I don't know. Your director buddy Matthew Holmes. Maybe he's familiar with these. Not that all people in Australia know each other, but since we have such a large following that we are unaware of, maybe
all
they know.
Australians know each other. It's true.
Yeah. They're all mates.
All right, let's jump into the episode then.
Yeah, clearly I have nothing else witty to add. No,
wasn't-
seriously.
There wasn't much that came this... I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot of news that I saw.
Post-Oscar lull.
Right, so A Wrinkle in Time.
A Wrinkle in Time from Ava DuVernay, the director of Selma. This is an unusual story about a young girl whose father goes missing after he discovers a form of travel via the human mind that can cross dimensions of space. The father's played by Chris Pine. He disappears for about 4 years, and then she gets a visit from Mrs. Whatsit, played by Reese Witherspoon, who comes to see her and her brother and another friend of theirs and offers the opportunity to perhaps find her father. She's joined by Mrs. Who, played by Mindy Kaling, and Mrs. Witch, played by Oprah Winfrey. And I really enjoyed this movie. It's a weird movie. It's the plot is a little bit indescribable, really. But I really enjoyed the message. I enjoyed how positive it is, naively positive, to a point where I know that there was no possible way that a lot of critics were going to like this, because we're all old and angry and men, and we're all going to be annoyed by this. Just in our nature to be irritated by something so earnest and so positive. We can't have that, especially those of us like me who grew up in the 90s. We can't handle earnestness on this level, but I did. I actually worked through that. I worked through my anger towards this. And this movie was so positive and so happy and in such a good mood the whole time. And it still had its own kind of eeriness to it. It had its own good atmosphere to it. I was in this movie the whole way. And I did get turned off by kind of like the saccharine, sticky sweet stuff at times, but I came through that because I got they stuck with that vibe the whole way. They didn't pass on it. They didn't give it up. They didn't try to make this movie anything it wasn't. They stayed with this the Warriors of the Light thing the whole time, and I went with it. I just feel like I felt this movie emotionally for our time, for the way we live right now in this dark timeline that we're in real life. It was nice to see a movie that was coming at it from a very positive perspective.
Josh?
This is what I wanted to see this weekend, but every once in a while, when you have shared parenting time, sometimes the other parent calls dibs, and sometimes you don't learn of that until you're picking your child up on the weekend. Oh, okay, well, I guess that means I can't see a theater movie this week because I would have gone on Thursday night. It's a book that I read back in 6th grade, and all of the names and whatnot that are involved with this and the pictures that came out in the trailer and all that good stuff remind me of this story that I read, but I have a very faint memory of it. That tells me that I probably didn't like the book as much as other people did. Now, my son did read the book within this past month, and he really, really liked it. So I'm excited to hear what his reaction is to the film. I still probably will end up seeing it shortly. I'll probably be dragged to it. But luckily, we've got the old movie pass, so it's going to be easier to be dragged.
Yeah, I saw it. This is the one I wanted to see the least, and I saw it. And it was fine. I thought it was a little sloppy at times. I felt like Reese Witherspoon, Mindy Kaling, and Oprah were never in the same room at the same time, the way you're looking at it on the screen. Maybe they were. When they got into the weird world, it looked better, but I thought outside of that world, it was kind of, I don't know, I just felt sloppy. But it was overly positive in a lot of ways, and I really feel strong about it. It's like It for kids. It really is. One, the bad guy's name's It. Two, the way you beat him is being over positive and not being scared. So it's kind of like the same ending.
Okay, I'm following, yeah.
I mean, there's not any bad, there's bad stuff, but not like in It, obviously. But it's, I don't know.
Clearly the It is Donald Trump. That was nice, I thought.
Oh, who played the It?
David Oyelowo.
Yeah, 2 movies this week, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, that's interesting.
I mean, it was a fine movie, but I'll forget about it probably by summertime.
It won't be in my top 10 or anything, but I enjoyed it a lot. And I thought, again, I like the positivity. I like the message. I liked the special effects even. I thought it was a good-looking movie. Storm Reed was terrific. She's a terrific young actress. I've never seen her do anything before. I think they found her for this movie, and they found the right girl. She was really great. In
a lot of ways, she's the highlight of the movie for me, I think. And the fact that both her and her brother reminded me of my kids. Because my son's as annoying as the little boy was. And
a lot of people really hated that kid, and I didn't understand that. I thought he was fun. And when he's like evil for a time, I thought that was interesting. I thought that was a nice play, and I thought the kid did well, especially for being so young.
Oh yeah, I agree. I was a little I was kind of shocked that the movie went there with what Chris Pine did there towards the end. That was kind of a first. I'm like, it's not real, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, he did do that. That's just kind of messed up. But again, he's been stuck there for 4 years too, so I guess I can kind of see it. Maybe, but yeah, it's fine. I think people will enjoy it for what it is.
To reflect your idea that a movie like this might be a good thing for this period of time, a cursory glance at the reviews are not necessarily the most kind to it, and the fan reviews really stick out as something that's not very kind to it, relying on the fact that it's saccharine to the point where they dislike that. So what that tells me is we might need it, but people don't want it, and that's too bad.
I think they've been invaded by the It. Like that's right. If you don't like this movie, clearly you've been invaded by the It.
Sounds kinky.
I love when people leave reviews like that. It's like, if you don't like this movie, there's something wrong with you. Yeah, that's the biggest movie this weekend, other than Black Panther, and that's kind of all you're going to get on it.
A Wrinkle in Time is the movie. Ava DuVernay turned down the chance to direct Black Panther and still stuck with the studio and chose this as her project instead. Would you say that Black Panther is a more accomplished film than this? Did you like
absolutely.
Black Panther?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Black Panther is far superior to this. But for what this is, I mean, it's such a complicated, weird story to try and coax into a filmic narrative. She did what she could with it, and she did very well, especially since she's never done major special effects before. She's never had a cast like this before. I think that certainly it reflects well in her directing.
And I will say it's over 2 hours, but it didn't feel like it. It almost felt short, if that makes sense. Like that's it. That's the story. That was pretty quick. And then, but I mean, it really is. It's like 2:20 or something like that, isn't it?
Didn't feel like it.
No, not at all.
What'd you see it in? Did you see it in IMAX or 3D or?
I have the movie card pass. So that said, I got my free ticket. Then I bought my family tickets, and then only 2 tickets came out. So I'm like, all right, fine. I'll just buy another ticket because I got the free one. I bought 4, and ended up with 5 tickets. All of a sudden, when I bought it the last time, 2 more tickets. I shouldn't have gone to the kiosk. I should have just gone to the counter. So I technically paid for this, and I should have gone to IMAX, I guess. But I mean, like I kind of thought the regular world, I felt was a little sloppy direction. But once they got to the crazy world, that's where I thought it really took off as a movie.
I saw this in D-Box, which is the vibrating seats, and it's really not worth that price. Not that I paid for it, but.
And with this movie,
it doesn't really. It's not a movie that lends itself to that. There's a couple swooping shots. There's a couple of shaky spots, but it's not like a movie like Black Panther, which if you watch that in D-Box is so awesome because the chair is moving everywhere.
yeah, this one's so positive. It's just like patting you on the back and giving you a shoulder massage and rubbing your hair. That's why Sean liked it.
In part, yes.
The Strangers, pray at night. The second best or most successful.
Talking about the exact opposite of positive. This is a movie that just revels in being ugly and nasty, and not even being good at being ugly and nasty. This is, I guess, a sequel to The Strangers because we don't even know if these are the same killers. It's so clumsy. I don't even know when this movie is set, to be honest with you. I tried to figure it out. And they like the Strangers, the killers, they've got this affinity for 80s music. Did they have that in the original?
No.
They love 80s music, apparently. So we get this 80s music going on, and it's set in a trailer park. So we don't really get any sense of, and because they're wearing those costumes, it's like they could be anywhere at any time. This could be the 80s. But then we get a font, and Josh will appreciate this.
Go on.
There's a font for the title that looks like it's out of the 70s. But then we get the main characters, and they get into a minivan that's clearly at least from the 2000s, and then they got cell phones. Like, okay, so it's a modern. It's so clumsy, though, to get to that. It's so clumsy. And that's just the first 5 minutes of this idiot movie. The characters are going to take their daughter to a boarding school, but they're going to stop off and see their aunt and uncle at this trailer park that apparently no one stays at because it's completely empty except for them and their dead aunt and uncle who are killed at the very beginning of the movie. They arrive there. The bad guys are waiting for them, and somehow I guess they're psychic as well in this movie because they always know where these characters are. Every time they go to various different trailers, and every time they know they're there. They know what weapons that they have. They're already ready for it, and they're ready to get in there and take care of it. It's a really, really dumb plot, really poorly executed. This is the guy who directed The Other Side of the Door, which is a real piece of shit. And this is certainly more along that lines. That said, he also directed 47 Meters Down, which isn't a bad movie. And really, he could have learned something from that movie in terms of how he used his bad guys in that. The sharks. These are sharks on land.
Put them underwater.
These are like sharks on land, so deploy them in a smarter way.
Land
like
sharks.
Awesome. It would be a much smarter way to handle this. But
Or watch the first one and do it that way. Yeah, I didn't go see this one, but I rewatched Strangers this week, and I hadn't seen it since that amazing theater experience I always talk about. It's as good as I remember it being. I was really, like, these bad guys, they're humans, and a part of it's them fucking with the people. So, you have those ghost movies where you're like, why would they do this? Well, these are humans beings trying to make people miserable. You don't know anything about him. I think like the only line in the movie, someone asked, "Why are you doing this?" and it's because you were here. That's like the only line the bad guy even says. And it starts off with Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman. Like he proposed to her at a wedding, and she turned him down. So the first 45 minutes is them dealing with that. So now you're kind of caught up in their emotions, and all of a sudden, this stuff starts happening. It was just a well done for a horror movie that doesn't have any symbolism behind it, just straight up ugliness and terror. It does a great job at doing that. You know, there's no, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was the death of the hippie dream, and Freddy meant this, and this means nothing. It's just a straight up horror movie, but it is really well done and really terrifying.
I wasn't a huge fan. I don't really remember very much of it, if I'm being honest. I didn't really care for it. But this is certainly far worse than that. And the fact is, it's a different director. He didn't direct the original Strangers, and that he basically the guy who did the first one. They basically used his characters. So that's right off the bat. I think that you can tell that this is a step down in quality just based off of that alone. This is a really bad movie.
They used his characters that weren't. You don't know who they are. They just three people that popped up in masks, and you never really find out who they are or anything.
The masks are really the only thing that makes a comeback. They only brought back the masks, nothing else about the original. Not even the same actors, barely the same title.
Yeah. Just running through this episode like it's...
Like, was Strangers successful enough to really need a sequel? Is it that popular?
It's like more of a cult horror movie. It's kind of like one of those in-between cult movies. It's not even like Evil Dead popular, but it's got its own little weird audience that I think it's more of an experience than a movie, because I do think you could probably, if you don't, like Blair Witch Project, if you don't invest yourself, you're going to probably hate it. But if you fall for what they're going for and get invested in what's going on, you're going to love it. I don't know. It took, 10 years to do a quote-unquote sequel. And yeah, the trailer just looked awful, and I wanted to see it just for the podcast, but I knew I wasn't going to like it. And what did your cousin think? Did you like it, or did you not really talk to
No, he
him?
didn't like it either. He mentioned, he quoted on my review, and he said that he talked about the padding, which he's right. There's a lot of padding in this movie to get it to like 80 minutes, which is, I think it's where it's close to that. Like there's a scene where they're just sitting out, their truck rolls up to a post office box outside of the trailer, and basically just sits there for like 30 seconds. They just try to try and keep this movie going. There's a scene where a girl's just smoking a cigarette. Let's just keep it rolling, keep it moving.
Yeah, the thing with the original Strangers was more, it took its time, but it was like terrifying at times. Like there's literally a scene where the killer just kind of walks behind Liv Tyler. There's no jump scare. I mean, there's a handful of jump scares in the movie, but they're earned. And I don't know. It was a really good horror movie for horror movie fans.
So it's a horror property. So doesn't it automatically just get a sequel, no matter what? Mainly because it seems like everything that is a horror movie that makes like $1 gets a chance to have another story told, regardless of whether or not the first one is uber successful or not. It's a property.
It made $10 million. I don't know what the budget was.
Yay, they'll make another one. Hopefully 10 years from now.
Direct to video that time.
Yeah. And then I guess we'll go with the third most successful new film this week, Hurricane Heist.
Hurricane Heist.
Not the other one, Hurricane Heist.
From director Rob Cohen, who did the original Fast and Furious, and also did Stealth, which is one of the worst movies ever made. This is a terrible movie, but you know what? This is a terrible movie that realizes just how terrible it is and has a really great time being terrible. And I just loved it. I just absolutely loved how bad this movie is. This is a really stupid movie, and it knows it's stupid, and they're just having a great time being dumb. Toby Kebbell is one of the lead guys, and he and his brother got these really deep Alabama accents. And they're really funny and charming in that. The lead actress is great. I think it's one of the girls from Lost, I think. And
There's a ton of TV stars. The kid from True Blood, the girl from Lost.
Right. Maggie Grace and Ryan Quanten, I believe it is.
Yep.
And they're terrific. And the bad guy's stupid. The whole group. But basically, the idea is that there's this hurricane, this beyond a Cat 5 hurricane that's going to hit Gulfport, Alabama, where there's this treasury station that has all this money that needs to be destroyed, but they want to steal it before it gets destroyed. They want to use the hurricane as cover to do that. There's lots of wind machines and lots of stupid stuff. There's dumb scenes where you know the characters would have been killed if it actually was real, but of course it's not real. It's a dumb movie. I loved it. I really had such a great time with this movie. If you go into it with the attitude that I had, that it's going to be really bad, the special effects aren't going to be any good, but these actors are having so much fun, and they really are. Like, Toby Kebbell and Ryan Quanten are great together as these bickering brothers. They're really funny together, and she's got great chemistry with everybody, Maggie Grace. I like this movie. It's bad, but I love it.
Yeah, when we
thought?
watched the trailer and you guys, and I didn't see it that first week, and you guys were like, "This is the worst idea ever," and then I saw the trailer and I'm like, "This is going to be amazing. There's no way this is going to be bad." I mean, exactly what Sean ended up saying.
Rob Cohen has a tendency to make movies like this, and when he fails really bad. Like, Stealth is a terrible movie. It's impossible to watch. It's that bad.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that he's done is like going for the same vibe. It is really just unwatchably bad. But then he does Fast and the Furious, which is bad, but in a really fun way. This is bad in a really fun way.
How do you make bad in a fun way successful? Because it only made $3 million. It doesn't really belong
Vin
in
Diesel and Paul Walker.
I guess.
But Paul
And The
Walker's
Rock.
gone, I know.
His whole career is interesting. I'm thinking Daylight, the Stallone movie.
Brutal.
Is brutal. Triple X is brutal to me.
I love
I didn't-
Daylight.
Yeah, I hate
Daylight's
that.
a lot of fun.
But I like Dragonheart, which is like his first theatrical film. That was actually kind of a sweet little dumb movie that had a okay looking dragon. But what is this guy even doing then? Because his career is so weird. A Mummy movie is in there too.
Don't know.
I think he's made money. I think that Stealth is the one that really sticks out as awful, as like beyond awful. And I think he's been fairly successful. I mean, $3 million is not a lot of money, but it only cost them $35 million. They're not going to probably make their money back, but maybe eventually it'll find its life on demand somewhere. I don't know.
See this movie, see it with friends. Just laugh your ass off at how dumb it is. I was the only one laughing in the theater. I guess I was the only one who went in there with the right attitude. Two people got up and walked out. There was an old couple who got up and walked out about 30 minutes into the movie.
Who goes to this movie with any other attitude?
I don't know, but I was the only one laughing.
People that didn't see the trailer. And they just see a poster and like a title that the font isn't italic enough for them to know that it's a dumb action movie.
Missed opportunity, by the way, although it's in the trailer, I believe, and it's certainly on the standee that's in the theater. If you walk past it, it starts playing Rock Me Like a Hurricane. Not in the movie. They don't use the song in the movie. Huge missed opportunity.
Enough money.
It costs too much in the trailer. Yeah, and I mean, it was the 8th most successful movie this week. So that's how many movies there were. I mean, the theater's been packed all weekend that I've been driving by it, and even there, although Wrinkle in Time wasn't very... I mean, people are still going to see Black Panther. It's ridiculous.
Crossed
Yeah.
a billion at the global box office.
Though Annihilation's only at $26 million, $40
That's
million
really sad.
budget. And then Gringo.
Yeah, Gringo with David Oyelowo and Charlize Theron, Edgerton. Great cast, fun, weird movie. The idea is that this company has created a weed pill. They're making it in Mexico, and to fund it, they've used some help from the Mexican drug cartels, and now they've got some pharmaceutical companies looking to buy them. They're a smaller company, and so they got to get out of business with the cartels, and they got to do so without the cartel people killing them. That's kind of a side plot, though, because David Oyelowo isn't even involved in that. He's kind of in charge of their Mexican company down there, but he doesn't know about the drug dealer part. What he does know is that he lives in Chicago. His wife is making him miserable. He's got no money. He's deeply in debt. And then he finds out that the company might be sold and he might be fired. So he's kind of in a place where he's just really kind of desperate and pissed off. And when he gets to Mexico, he decides he's going to plot his own kidnapping. Only there's another kidnapping plot going on at the same time, centered around him. It's a lot of complicated stuff, but it's all pretty well carried off. We've never seen David Oyelowo like this. He's usually very, very stately. He's very, he's a guy who's just reserved and dignified. And here he's kind of desperate and flailing and drunk and kind of out of control. He's a loser, and he's really having a lot of fun doing that. And he's such a great actor, and he's got so much charisma. He really sells this whole thing. Edgerton, on the other hand, is doing this real jackass of a character, the kind of arrogant prick. He's got that punchable face going on. Like you really don't like him. Charlize Theron's doing that cold-hearted bitch thing, and all of it's really working. And I'm going to say something that I've never said before, and I'm probably going to regret it one of these days. But Charlton Copley's in this movie, and he's not bad. He's not bad for once in his career. He's not bad.
He's still rolling?
Yeah. But you said, and when I watched the trailer, it's like he seems to be the one not going over the top. Of all the characters in the movie, he seems to be the one that's more reserved. It's like him and whatever his name is. How do you pronounce it?
Oyelowo.
Oyelowo. That's the last time I'll even come close to saying it. It's like they switched spots based on the trailer. I didn't see the movie. I'm just basing it on the trailer.
He's not bad, and he and Oyelowo have kind of the best, interesting conversation in the movie until one of them gets hit by a car, which is kind of a fun way of playing it out. I like this movie a lot. I had a lot of fun watching Gringo. It's messy. There's a whole side plot also with Amanda Seyfried. She's kind of there just to be kind of the sort of love interest for David Oyelowo, but she's kind of forced into the plot. That part of it really doesn't work. You could really take her and her entire plot out of the movie, and it wouldn't make a difference. But overall, I do like this movie. I thought it was fun.
This would have been the movie I would have gone to if I could have picked the movie I went to. Couldn't take the kids to this one, so I got stuck with Wrinkle in Time. Not that it was bad, but
you'll get a chance to show the kids Strangers one of these days.
tried. They did not last long at all. Actually, the cover alone, they've lost interest in it. My daughter didn't last long with Black Swan a few weeks back.
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes, and she's like, I can't do this.
That's how intense Aronofsky is.
They like Mother, though.
Jeez.
That's not. I'm just making stuff up. Shock laugh. That's all I'm doing. Is shock laughs.
Put your top five. Who's your top five?
With that, our top 5 is pot-themed movies. The bane of Josh's existence.
Yeah, kind of.
And I know we actually got a lot of Instagram comments from Megan. She had Cheech and Chong, but only if you are actually half-baked. Beth had bong water. CrossFit and weed said CrossFit, hearts.
No, okay, I got to know if that's a thing. CrossFit and weed. Because I've seen CrossFit happen, and I'm like, there's no way you can't be at the top of your game when you're doing CrossFit. Like, that would be something I would watch. I would pay to watch people on weed doing CrossFit, yeah.
CrossFit?
CrossFit. I'm currently high, so,
I could see, and there's different strains of pot, and there's one that makes you more focused and one that makes you more laid back.
I see. Okay.
Listen to too much Joe Rogan, I think. Steve G had number 5, Dazed and Confused. 4, The Big Lebowski. 3, Jane Silent Bob. 2, Pineapple Express. 1, We're the Millers. Very much a guilty pleasure, not just for Jennifer Aniston's striptease, or if you heard our podcast, lack thereof. Facebook, we have Zach. He is number 5, Jane Silent Bob Strike Back. 4, Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. 3, How High. 2, Half Baked. 1, Pineapple Express. Tracy from New Mexico had number 5, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, 4, Up in Smoke, 3, Saving Grace, 2, Pineapple Express, and 1, Grandma's Boy. Just for you, Sean. Uncle Jeff, these are certainly not marijuana-based movies, but when I think of marijuana in movies, these are the 4 that come to mind. I couldn't come up with 5. 4, The Breakfast Club, 3, Poltergeist, 2, American Beauty, 1, 9 to 5. And then Josh, you took his idea. Go ahead and
Yeah, because I mean, I don't get into these movies, obviously, and it has little to do with the idea of hating stoners. It's not that. It's just if it's illegal and you're doing it and you're getting away with it, that's what pisses me off, because I could like accidentally not stop completely at a stop sign and a cop will give me the rundown, you know, and treat me like I am some drug cartel leader or something, you know, but people in my life just get away with it all the time and it pisses me off.
You've been treated like a drug cartel leader before?
Do you know what I'm saying? Like the overreaction from law enforcement sometimes, but then some people will just...
I don't understand. I mean, I don't approve of it, but...
Well, in this case, as you're saying that, all of a sudden the clarity is coming to me and I should shut up. So my top 5 pot movies in relation to not really having pot, but kind of having is Breakfast Club, American Beauty, Dazed and Confused, Big Lebowski, and Poltergeist, and I'm done.
I got lazy because I didn't want to break up Seth Rogen and Kevin Smith movies, so I just said, that first few though knocked up in Pineapple Express, Dazed and Confused, The View Askew universe of Kevin Smith's, The Big Lebowski number 2, and then American Beauty. Sean?
Yeah, I got Dazed and Confused. Then I meant to write Knocked Up and somehow wrote Dogma instead. I don't know, I was looking at the list and I think I was just typing absentmindedly, but not that I don't love Dogma. There is pot in that movie.
It's just not as prevalent in that movie.
Number 3, Pineapple Express, which is one of the most watchable movies for me. Anytime it's on, I can watch Pineapple Express. I like it that much. It's just really easy to watch. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and of course, number 1, the greatest movie ever made, The Big Lebowski. And Brian Landon commented that everybody picked all of his favorites, so he mentioned Scooby-Doo and Shaggy.
Yeah.
And then Jason from Mexico said, were there 5 Cheech and Chong movies? And that was all he said.
I've never found Cheech and Chong funny. Not even one time.
I've never really watched. I saw Tommy Chong live once.
Was it good?
Fine. I mean, there's something about being in a live audience versus something on TV. I never listened to the records, and I don't think I've seen Up in Smoke. I don't know, never really watched it.
One of those horrible moments where somebody's trying to show you something that they absolutely love, and you're going, that's nice. So this friend of mine's he keeps like, okay, you got to hear Dave's not here, man. You got to hear Dave's not here. So he's like, just trust me, you're going to think this is hilarious. So he plays it for me, and I'm just sitting there, and the whole thing is just, Dave's not here, man. I'm like, yeah? Who's Dave? I don't care. I could not. I'm trying, but just not finding any of it funny.
Speaking of that, I want to try it for our next Patreon episode. I want to try a friend suggested movie to me. I did laugh with them, but I'm curious how you two will do. He is a Patreon supporter. And James from New Mexico's watched the movie too.
Fishing with Gandhi.
Yes. It's very short, and I don't know if we should watch it together or we should watch it separately and see how we react.
I feel like this movie is like how at the end of Jimmy Kimmel he always says, "We're sorry we didn't have time for Matt Damon tonight." We've kind of done that with Fishing with Gandhi since the beginning of the show.
I remember talking about it when I first started coming up.
We haven't talked about it in a long time though. And The Greasy Strangler turned into that movie. But then we actually finally watched it.
Oh, yeah. We should definitely just get it out of the way.
I'm sorry, Fishing with Gandhi. We just don't have time for you this week.
You got to pay to hear it. But I don't know. I'm just curious because I did watch it with, it was Corey. He showed it to me. Him and his brother watched it. And I watched it with them, and they were just laughing their butts off. And because of how much fun they were having, I had fun with it. I haven't watched it since. It's on Amazon free. But I don't know. And if we ever get around to doing that bonus episode, that's another thing we've promised. And then we're going to do one every month, and it's already March. We've done one. But yeah, so that's something to look forward to in the next couple of weeks.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event for the linear legitimate, and universally recognized. Undisputed.
Undisputed classic. His Girl Friday.
Yes, Howard Hawks, 1940, starring Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell. This is my mom's favorite movie, and one of my favorite movies. We rarely agreed on anything, but she was in love with Cary Grant. She was, in fact, at the Adler Theater the night that Cary Grant was there and the night that he ended up passing away in Davenport, Iowa. This thing, it was a weird thing that actors that I don't know how many actors did this, but he went on tour around the country doing these shows where he would just sit on stage and tell stories about the movies that he made. That's kind of a cool thing. I really dig that. I wish actors would do that today. Kevin Smith does it, but not just your average everyday actor. Which
right.
Cary Grant was this great leading man for so long, and then he just did this tour. Is one of the last things he ever did. But this movie is right up there with his Hitchcock stuff as the best stuff he's ever done. This movie is just fast-paced, smart, funny stuff from beginning to end. Just rapid-fire dialogue, just two characters who are just so in sync with each other, just bouncing off of one another with these lines that come so fast you almost have to go back and catch them again. Just that's how great these two are. Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell are just amazing together, and the chemistry is just off the charts. I just can't get enough of those two together. It's interesting in terms of like if you're watching this movie today, one of the first things you see in this movie is this opening, like not a bit of narration, but like words on the screen, and it's Howard Hawks taking a shot at the media of his time. Which actually, if you could remake this movie today and have this same thing where like the media is just not as tough as they used to be. I love this movie. I love these characters. I love the story. I love the way it plays out. It's just a lot of fun.
I think you can tell that it came originally from a play. It definitely plays like that. And what Switching Channels did, and we watched that last week, the remake of this with Kathleen Turner and Reynolds and Christopher Reeve, I could tell just from watching that it was going to be a breezy watch. It was going to be something that had characters that I could at least get into. Sometimes you're going all the way back to 1940 and you start to wonder about the relevance of this movie even to your own sensibilities. And this is not the case with this movie. I actually really liked it too. I like it more than Switching Channels, but mainly because I like Cary Grant more than Burt Reynolds and Kathleen Turner, Rosalind Russell. It's a different character. Kathleen Turner is more of like she's got a harder edge to her in Switching Channels than Rosalind Russell does. But the journalism setting of this one, the fast pace, I'll call it Sorkin speak because in a way that's kind of what it is. They're moving back and forth. You know, they're no one talks that fast. Okay, not in real life. Maybe they do in a newspaper room. I've never been. I've never been in a newsroom while things are going on, okay? Just in a newsroom on a college campus. That's not the same thing. Nobody ever talked like that. But it has a pace to it that is entirely enjoyable. Cary Grant at age 36 is something unfamiliar to me. I'm used to later stage Cary Grant with Hitchcock. And A Fair to Remember, that is Cary Grant, right? Not Gary Cooper. It is Cary Grant. Okay, good. Where he's already a little bit of a statesman in such a way. He doesn't have the youthful vigor to him that he does here. And it ends up being something that is one of the more watchable films of its time. I'm thinking of Casablanca right along with it. In fact, this predates Casablanca by a year. The humor is such that it transfers, I think, from through many different decades. It's farcical stuff. It's smart stuff, and the joy coming out of those two leads it's palpable. And so, even though I was watching it past midnight last night, and it's funny that you say they talk so fast that you have to I did because I couldn't hear it very well, of course, but also because they're speaking so rapidly. You want to catch everything that they're saying because what they do say that you catch is good stuff. This is a really great movie. I truly consider it a classic.
It reminded me of a Jimmy John's commercial, the way they talk. Because that's how.
Did you say Jimmy John's?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because they clearly ripped that. This is clearly an influence of where they were going with that. But it is very watchable. It is very clever. I mean, it's an Ocean's 11 type fun movie that is easy to watch, even though it came out in the 40s. I mean, I wouldn't. It's not gonna be one of my favorite, and part of me probably, I don't know. It's definitely clever. I liked how fast it was. I liked the cadence of the dialogue, and the fact that it is, that cadence does pop up here and there decades later is pretty impressive.
I think if all of Kevin Smith's characters weren't stoned, they'd talk this fast.
I mean, if you look at Mallrats, Jason Lee's character is kind of Kevin Smith had to kind of tell him talk like
Right.
there's a cadence to it. So yeah, just the cleverness of the dialogue. I don't know. It really was an easy watch.
Yeah, it's interesting. Did you catch that Howard Hawks invented meta? He did. There's a scene actually. This is true. He did it before anybody else. 1940. There's a scene where he's trying to get Ralph Bellamy into jail again to keep him from staying in town.
He says he looks like Ralph Bellamy.
He looks like that Ralph Bellamy guy.
Yeah,
that is Ralph Bellamy. Brilliant.
Which I would have never. I don't know Ralph Bellamy.
Sadly, Ralph Bellamy, his career ended with Disorderlies.
It happens.
You can see in the remake, though, of switching channels why they chose who they chose. I maybe would have gone with somebody else other than Burt Reynolds. I mean, though he wasn't bad in it, I can see why they chose who they chose. Christopher Reeve as opposed to Ralph Bellamy. That really works well. And they even did his hairstyle kind of the same way as Ralph Bellamy. So I have a tendency.
They were like 5 years past when Burt Reynolds could play the role, and they were about 5 years before Tom Hanks could play it.
Oh, see, that's actually pretty good, because I couldn't think of anyone else other than Burt Reynolds that I would want in there once I was watching this one last night. But yeah, it's rare that when we're picking something that's a little older that I'm this enthusiastic about it. But no, this is one of those really fantastic ones. I like the moment where, all of the journalists are in the room and the dialogue amongst all of them and their versions of what is happening is so fantastic, and it just keeps escalating.
It's the nastiest scene in the movie where the girlfriend of the guy who's on death row comes into the room and they start they just keep ripping her off. She's crying in front of them, and they keep coming up with various different plays off of how she's reacting. It's terrible, but it's also very, very darkly humorous.
Is switching channel, does it have that cadence too?
Absolutely does. I don't think it's as
fast.
It's not as,
But
well, see, to me that's more of a mistake. If you're going to remake something, do it different. And it sounds like with Kathleen Turner is a different type of character than who they had in this one. But
the difference, too, is that they spend time with Kathleen Turner's character on vacation from her job. So this one starts out with Rosalind Russell basically already coming back from vacation, and she's already met Ralph Bellamy's character, and she's already on the road to being married. And switching channels, they try and show her as burnt out and hating the industry before she goes on this vacation and meets Christopher Reeve. And that, I think, is it's a smart choice in that it fleshes out her character a little bit more. You understand her connection to journalism and why she needs it as part of her life, and thus why she needs Walter as well.
And I'll give credit to switching channels in that I thought Artie Johnson his character got a little bit more fleshed out, is a little bit more funny than the guy who gets to, in this movie, who's only really seen a couple of times.
Yeah.
But the movie certainly didn't need a remake. In 2018, it's still that watchable.
It depends on how you look at it, not only because of the method of media involved, and that's print journalism, and it's done a different way, whereas switching channels is set in the broadcast age.
I agree. As long as it's, don't make the same movie. Even if you change don't take their gimmick and do it again, I guess, what I'm getting at. Do it different. It sounds like it is switching channels. They flesh things out a little more, which I haven't seen it, so it sounds like it didn't make a straight rip-off remake. So, I don't know.
Yeah, and the original, Ralph Bellamy selling insurance. Christopher Reeve owns a sporting goods company, and so there's a slight difference in that. You see Reeve is more of like the athletic yuppie, and all he's ever had time to do is work out and sell workout equipment.
Cary Grant is such a dick. He's just
great.
a massive dick to Ralph Bellamy the whole time. I mean, he sets him up with fake money. He's
A
like
prostitute.
prostitute. Gets him thrown in jail like 3 times. Oh man, that was fun.
And he still wins.
He still wins, and you still like him more than you like Ralph Bellamy.
Number 18 in 1988. Squeezed and pulled and hurt my neck in 1988.
Squeezed and pulled and hurt your neck in 1988.
1988.
Oh, this week I actually got to watch 2 of the films released, so I'll get rid of the one that I didn't. A movie called Saigon, or depending on how you're looking at it, it's called Off Limits to some people. It stars Willem Dafoe, and I couldn't find it anywhere to watch it. Otherwise, I would have said, you know what, the time change is such that I might as well stay up and watch it. But the first one that I watched last night was called Masquerade, and for 1988, $15 million is a cool sum of cash to take home from the box office. Rob Lowe isn't quite at his lowest moment as an actor yet, and so he's still a little bit bankable. Stars with Meg Tilly and Kim Cattrall, and an actor that this is okay. It's like a Lifetime movie in that
With boobs.
yeah, yes, lots of them, and here's the thing, though. What separates it from being a Lifetime movie and something that's like just flat out Red Shoe Diaries, okay? I expected to see Zalman King's name show up in the executive producer section, but that didn't happen. It's sleazy, but it also is kind of smart in that I didn't know the twists that happened in this film. I had no idea that they were coming. Whether or not that's deliberate and kind of smacks you upside the face for no good reason. Whether is it a red herring? Is that what we would call it? I don't know.
I didn't
know that would
it.
be
How did it end?
well, that's not a good sign. I'm giving the film a little bit of credit because it's set in it's 1988. It's sleazy. There's excessive nudity and sweating involved, and characters that aren't generally pleasant to each other. But then I keep rooting for Meg Tilly's character to like actually find love. She thinks that she's in love with Rob Lowe's character. Is he a swindler? Is he not a swindler? There are 1, 2, 3 plot twists involved in this movie that they just were smartly worked in for something that's a sleazy film. So it would have been worth for you staying till the end of the movie, if nothing else, because it was free.
Yeah, this was the movie where, because I saw it when I was much younger, when I was
Attaboy.
I had known Kim Cattrall from Big Trouble in Little China, and she was cute in that. And all of a sudden, I see this. This is my. Other than that, this was my.
This movie made him a man.
Smart move.
Well, I mean, and then she just did that over and over again the rest of her career. But and Porky's had been out. I just hadn't seen it yet. And she was barking in that movie, if I remember right. Isn't that she's in the gym teachers up in the? I don't know. Never mind.
I don't remember.
It had been so long. I think I saw it when I was 4.
Porky's?
Yes, seriously. I remember the shower
back?
scene. No, I haven't. Tried watching Porky's 2 when it turned 30, and the copy didn't work.
And you couldn't see the Porky's, so you couldn't.
Yep.
The OCD didn't work. Anyway, yeah, Masquerade. It was
better than I thought, but
It's the kind of movie they don't make anymore. That genre that's just not quite porn. But it makes it into a mainstream theater.
yeah. And I mean, it is sexy though. Like it's not. That's why I'm saying it's not quite Red Shoe Diaries. It's sexy enough that you really kind of get into it a little bit, I guess. Let me put it this way. I saw 50 Shades of Grey. I haven't seen the sequels. And for all of the hubbub, Masquerade was sexier than 50 Shades of Grey. That's all I got. I mean, if you missed the second sex scene with Meg Tilly and Rob Lowe, that's pretty sexy too.
I made it an hour in.
in fairness.
I had better things to do.
Yeah, I understand.
In fairness, to Josh, sweaty equals sex. He said sweaty earlier.
Well, you You like what you know.
It was really sweaty, wasn't it?
It
The whole
was.
movie.
It's like they
It's,
put
really
extra sweat
sweaty,
on Rob Lowe. And then I was thinking, no, wait, she is too.
Yeah,
like,
all three of them.
did they actually go at it? Because that I can imagine that.
No, the Rob McTilly one, yeah, it was like, where is exactly he
Right, where's the sock, man? There's got to be a bit of a problem going on here.
Maybe.
Again, it's a sexy movie. Speaking of sexy, no, vice versa.
No one has ever said Judge Reinhold is sexy ever.
I don't know. He's the kind of nerdy that I think some ladies or dudes could get into, you know? But it's another body swap movie, just like Father Like Son last year. We talked about Turn 30 with Dudley Moore and Kirk Cameron. Vice versa is Judge Reinhold and Fred Savage. And, of course, they've got to involve another culture's, medicine and like body transfer things in here for whatever reason. They can't just like come upon something. They have to attribute it to a culture. But they swap bodies, and Judge Reinhold is Fred Savage and Fred Savage is Judge Reinhold. You watch The Kid from the Wonder Years, which in 1988 Wonder Years premiered in March as well. So it was kind of a big month for Fred Savage. You get to see him say curse words and do the adult thing, which is charming, I suppose, for all that it's worth. It's a watchable film, but at the same time, when I saw this in the theater, I remember liking it far more than I liked it this week watching it. It exists.
I love Fred Savage. Hell of a TV director now.
He really is, yeah.
I mean, for what that's worth. I don't know what a TV director does.
What this movie misses out on, and so does Like Father, Like Son, is what Big got right. And we'll talk about that later this year. That's not a body swap movie per se, as just a man in the mind of a child and whatnot. What Tom Hanks does in Big, which we'll get to in, I think, June, is so much more impressive than what Judge Reinhold does with this one. And he's fine in Beverly Hills Cop, but boy, am I glad I don't have to remember him.
You're
a lot.
saying Tom Hanks is better than Judge Reinhold.
Listen, if you can make that kind of a stretch, if you can take your mind to that level.
I'm just trying to make.
He was painting that limb that you're standing on.
Man, I'm Captain Obvious tonight, aren't I?
I'm just trying to make it. We're just flying through this episode. I'm trying to say something funny, and I'm.
No, you're doing well because I'm saying
off
things that are
mean.
like, oh yeah, duh, oh yeah, duh.
I'm trying to find out something more
It's
sweaty.
devolving into chaos.
This movie, however, I don't remember
Is
seeing
Judge Reinhold
anyone
sweaty? Is that the
sweating.
question?
Is he?
I don't remember seeing it.
Maybe during the skateboarding scenes, maybe. He does skateboard,
Oh,
doesn't
he does skateboard in this movie, yeah.
They
of course.
just lowered themselves to the dumbest cliches of childhood and adulthood to get the jokes in this movie. And that's, Fred Savage saying a curse word, or drinking coffee in the morning. He's a kid. Kids don't drink coffee. See?
Right,
See,
right.
it's
He's
funny.
looking at the Wall Street Journal. He's supposed to be in school.
He's not wearing dress shoes. He's an adult going to an office not wearing dress shoes.
So uptight. That's funny.
Do not, under any circumstances, watch his late period action movies. Those are really hard to watch.
I believe you.
They exist.
Oh, they do. Yes, him as the leading man in a really bad '90s action movies. That's a thing that happened.
Oh boy,
we need some titles here, man. Sweaty Cop. Starring Judge Reinhold.
He's still waiting for that Beverly Hills Cop 4 to come out. He's hoping, please, I want a job.
He was cast on that TV version they were going to make that they scrapped.
I also believe you.
He was so good in Fast Times.
He was really good. That was a really funny scene.
Well, but the whole movie, but yeah, you're right. That was a funny scene as well.
That's it from 88.
Nothing more? There's nothing?
Nothing
It's
more.
just zip?
Kind of it for the podcast. Next week, it looks like we have a handful of movies. Love, Simon. We're all going to be rushing to the theater for that one. Tomb Raider. That I'm happy it exists for Alicia Vikander, but I don't really care about it. And then I Can Only Imagine, which sounds like a Christian movie.
Yeah, I will be seeing Tomb Raider, though. I'm actually kind of impressed with the trailers thus far. I have no aspirations that this is going to be on the same level as what our classic could be, but I am certainly excited about it.
If I see a movie, and I'm hoping to, although maybe if I need to take a week off, this would be a good one to do it, it'll be Tomb Raider, because I think my son wants to see it, but we'll see. But because of that, we are going to watch another Raider movie. Indiana Jones and the Raiders. That's not how it goes, right? Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's a weird thing that happens when they put it out as a box set now. It's Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's another one of those Lucasfilm piece of shit things they do, like change the titles like far after the film has been in the public eye for 2 decades or whatever. And then they did the same thing with Raiders just for alignment of film spine purposes. It's weird.
Judge Reinhold action movies, Last Lives, The Wharf Rat, let's see here, Bank Robber, and of course his legendary turn in Cracker Jack 2, in which he took the place of Thomas Ian Griffith.
Oh, another luminary.
I'm going to write a script called Sweaty Cop. You guys write, I can try.
Just start a Sweaty Cop 2.
That's still the name of the podcast. Our top 5 was top 5 sweaty scenes in movies. No, it's really
Madonna and Body and Evidence.
Oh, yeah.
Willem Dafoe and Body of Evidence.
Great movie. For all the kind of like the way Hurricane Heist is a great movie, but in a different way.
Joe Mantegna is really sweaty in that, but he keeps his clothes on the entire time.
Damn.
Wayne Knight and Basic Instinct.
Yes.
Wayne Knight's sitting still.
And of course, Rob Lowe.
When you're Rob Lowe, you glisten, you don't sweat.
Sigourney Weaver and Alien. Yeah. Very sweaty in that one.
Horrifying nightmares. Horrifying, really hot nightmares.
Maybe that should be our top 5, but it's not. Our top 5 is movies with characters of Irish descent, or
kind of an Irish flavor of any kind,
yes,
really.
You kind of define it. If you just want to do Ben Affleck movies, that's fine. If you want to do movies in Ireland, that's fine.
Or you just do movies with Dropkick Murphys on the soundtrack.
Oh, God, no.
Dropkick, they're a good band. You just got to quit playing that one song.
There's at least 5 movies with that song on the soundtrack.
It was awesome in The Departed, and then everybody did it after that. Maybe it was done before that, but The Departed was like the perfect peak of it.
I think Boondock Saints did it first, right? And that came before The Departed.
They didn't do it as well.
Right, I don't like that movie.
Is it in that movie? I don't remember.
I have no idea.
I think it is.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I bet it was in the sequel.
I've seen Dropkick Murphys live at a Metallica festival, and like halfway through Dropkick Murphy's set, Metallica did a surprise show on the other side of this. So everybody ran away from the stage.
Oh, what a dick move.
They actually had to announce it. Metallica's going to start playing in 5 minutes, but we're going to keep playing if you want to stick around. It was amazing. I actually stayed and watched him. Me and 10 other people. But yeah, our top 5 Irish movies. You define that. 88 and like DOA comes out, and a Police Academy movie.
Speaking of sweaty movies, DOA had a sweaty cover. I remember that one, so I think I might want to watch that one.
But yeah, I guess that's our show, our sweaty show this week. I want to thank our Patreon supporters before we totally. And then last week I accidentally said Uncle Jeff's full name, and I apologize for that. I was just reading my copy. Our key grip level, Charlie Messing. Our character actors, Christina and Josh.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Our special effects level, Corey.
May the Force be with you.
Our associate producer, Jason from New Mexico.
Everybody has to eat shaving cream once in a while.
And our movie stars, Uncle Jeff and Dave Severs.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
If you want to be a Patreon supporter, head over to ihatecritic.net/Patreon. If you want to listen to the bonus Patreon level, it is on, the bonus Patreon podcast. It is on Bandcamp. I will put a link on our website eventually when I remember to do it. I always keep forgetting. And if you are a Patreon supporter and you can't find it on Patreon, let me know and I'll send you the link on Facebook or something like that, or email or whatever works for you. We talk about the Gracie Strangler, and it'll come. That'll movie that'll never go away, whether you've seen it all the way through or not. And then we're working on maybe doing another one here in the next couple of weeks with Fishing with Gandhi and more Flick Chart. If you want to stick around after the credits, we'll listen to some more. We'll do some more Flick Chart. All right, that's it. I'm having a hard time talking. Podcast over.
That ought to do it. Thanks very much, Ray.
And we're the three best friends that anybody could have. We're the three best friends that anyone could have. We're the three best friends that anyone can have. And we'll never, ever, 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 ever leave each other. We're the best three friends that anybody could have. I mean the three best friends that anybody could have. That's right, the three best friends.
You guys want to stick around and play Flick Chart?
Yeah.
Oh,
why wouldn't we?
Yes.
Let's see if I can get my internet to work and we can try His Girl Friday and see where we can put that at.
All right.
His Girl Friday versus Batman Returns.
His Girl Friday.
Agreed.
Yes. His Girl Friday versus Almost Famous.
Almost Famous.
Almost Famous.
By a lot. His Girl Friday versus Foxy Brown.
His Girl Friday.
Agreed.
Yeah. As much fun as Foxy Brown was. His Girl Friday versus Sideways.
His Girl Friday.
Agreed.
I wonder if it's due to recency bias, but I agree. We need to watch Sideways, though. That's a movie we haven't covered on the podcast. His Girl Friday versus Zombieland.
His Girl Friday.
Also agreed.
Yeah, although I do like Zombieland.
I do too.
His Girl Friday versus Dial M for Murder.
His Girl Friday.
Agreed.
Yes. Well, we're just shooting up the charts. His Girl Friday versus 10 Things I Hate About You.
His Girl Friday.
Agreed.
His Girl Friday versus Tropic Thunder.
His Girl Friday.
Agreed. By a mile.
I might go Tropic Thunder. His Girl Friday versus Almost Famous again.
Almost Famous.
Yep.
It is now ranked number 163. Almost Famous is 161.
I feel like that would probably climb a lot.
We'd go up, I'm thinking.
Want to see what'll happen?
Oh,
why not?
Yeah. You're going to start running into some stuff that I like here, too, though. So
I know, but 2 against 1.
Right. I feel some heartbreak coming on.
I mean, this could possibly hit number 1 if it works out right. Provided the internet wants to help out. Wouldn't that be funny if we just didn't do it because the internet didn't? I mean, there's literally only one movie that I like better than Almost Famous. So.
I'm pretty much, I'm almost at that point, yeah.
Almost Famous, Batman Returns.
Almost Famous.
Almost Famous.
Almost Famous, Inception.
Almost Famous.
Agreed.
Almost Famous, Pan's Labyrinth.
Almost Famous.
Closer, but almost famous.
Yeah. Almost Famous, Rope.
Almost Famous.
Yep.
Almost Famous, Liar, Liar. Wow, that's way too high on this.
Yeah.
Almost
Way
Famous.
High. Yep.
Almost Famous, The Lion King.
Almost Famous.
Lion King.
Almost Famous. It stopped at number 10. Why can't we keep going? Let's re-rank this movie one more time and see what happens. Are you fucking kidding me? Batman Returns, Inception.
Is there a way to do it against like the top 10? It's been a long time since I've messed with Flickchart on my own. It was starting.
Okay, here we go. Now we're starting to move. Almost Famous, Heat.
Versus Heat?
Yeah.
Almost Famous.
Almost Famous
Yeah,
for me. It's
agreed.
much as fun as Heat is. Almost Famous, Dogma.
Almost Famous.
Almost Famous.
Almost Famous, Good Will Hunting.
Almost Famous.
Good Will Hunting.
Almost Famous is now our number one movie.
There you go.
At least we didn't touch other than Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
Oh,
we
yeah.
didn't hit.
Yeah.
I mean, we
you
jumped-
didn't touch a Star Wars film, or
We
you
just
know.
jumped right past the Star Wars movies. In fairness, we got Star Wars 8. Rocky's like 30.
Like,
So,
really,
yeah.
I mean, Almost Famous comes up against stuff for me. It would be the only one I could think of immediately would be Lebowski, maybe Casablanca.
Yeah, it's such a. I probably like it more than Rocky. You know, really, but there's just something that says no, Rocky's better. Don't even think about it. Just go. You're at an hour 10, so anything else you guys want to rank? Should we call it a day?
That's all right.
All right.
That was an appropriate amount of heartbreak.